My first two Craigslist computers. It's an E-machine!
Ooh!
Model ET1331G. It was a Craigslist find, and it came with all these goodies. Built-in NVIDIA graphics on the motherboard, Windows 7 Home Edition, and an AMD Athlon 235 dual-core CPU. This is a low-powered chip, which means they can save money by using a cheaper power supply. The hard drive, unfortunately, was hosed.
Aww.
And it came with a big honking 19-inch tube monitor. Its owner was a little hard up for cash and showed me that it did boot to Ubuntu from a USB stick. I was in a holiday mood, so I didn't haggle, which made him very happy. But it was a bit dirtier than the pictures showed, so it needed a good blowout. For all your cleaning needs, you need one of these guys. It also stank of cigarette smoke. For the non-electronic parts, I like to use these disposable wipes with a nice lemony scent to them. I use alcohol wipes for the electronics. There's nothing too special about the insides. It's a fairly standard micro ATX motherboard. There's an empty PCI slot just waiting for a graphics card. And always find out what the motherboard is. This will really help in planning out upgrades, especially CPUs. Finding good information just using the model number of the computer can be difficult. If you have a motherboard number, you can usually get more specific data. However, different manufacturers may have different specifications for the same or similar motherboard. It came populated with 4 sticks of RAM for a total of 6 gigs. So far, so good. But the CPU cooler was still very yucky, so I had to take it off to clean it and replace the heatsink compound. And here's where it all went south on me. When I pulled the heatsink off, the CPU came with it, bending several of the pins. The heatsink compound had turned to cement. My heart stopped when this happened. It took a little patience and alcohol to separate the CPU from the cooler. I tried my best to straighten the pins, but when I put it back into the machine, it failed to boot. At this point, I didn't know if the CPU was ruined or the CPU socket was destroyed. However, the young man who sold me the machine said he had another one that he was unsure if it was working. I knew he was hard up for cash, so I gave him a 10 spot for it. It was an old Gateway, and yeah, it didn't boot. So I stripped it for parts. Some RAM, a DVD drive, fans, even a working 300-watt power supply. And a CPU, an Athlon 4600. This made it worth the effort. It had a CPU that my motherboard could accept. Although the CPU was a higher wattage than the original, I popped it in and the machine booted. So the motherboard was still good. I got a replacement for the original 235 CPU since I didn't want to stress either the motherboard or the power supply by using a hotter chip. It might be possible that the motherboard will take a low-power quad-core chip, but I'm not so sure. Since I had a valid Windows 7 key and was able to get a merely slightly sketchy copy of Windows 7 Home, I put in a refurbished 320 gig hard drive and installed Windows. I was able to get the original drivers off the internet and restored the machine to a mostly new condition. It's surprisingly snappy for its age and modest specifications. I've invested enough time and energy into this puppy. It looks sweet and shiny now. I posted this back onto Craigslist, but got no takers. I'll probably just give this to a friend who has a much worse system. Resurrecting old systems and giving them away is what it's all about, really. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay curious.